Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. I have a few skunks and a few chunks that I'm going to talk to you about today. I saw somewhere in my pile of stuff that I had one of the books by Bernice Morgan, and it was a reread. I wanted to reread it. But then I thought, well, what else has she written? And picked up Waiting for Time. And I put this one on hold at the library, so I was obviously following some kind of logical thinking at the time. And I'm not loving it. I can't decide whether I want to keep going with it or not because I'm on chapter 3, that's about 43 pages, and the protagonist is bored. And I just seem to recall saying to myself somewhere in the past, if the protagonist is so successfully bored in the book, so am I. And so I think I did not finish this book the first time through. So if any of you have any thoughts on whether to continue, whether there's something going to happen in the coming future in this book, it's not too long, 230 pages, and Bernice Morgan is a very good writer, but at the moment I don't have any carrot at the end of a stick to keep me going. The main character has, she wrote Random Passage, that's the one that I was thinking of rereading. So the main character has gone back to Newfoundland and she works for the Department of Fisheries and is supposed to be sorting out some scientific muddle out that way. And as I say, she's quite bored. She doesn't have any relationships. She doesn't even have a hamster in a cage, there's just nothing going on. So I don't know whether she goes back to Cape Random where her father lived, who died in World War II. Anyways, if any of you have got any sort of motivating ideas about this book, let me know, because at the moment it's on pause, and if I don't continue, it goes back to the library next time I head in. The other one was one of, I can't even remember why I put this on hold, but I did because I have the sticky dish to prove it, and it's about the Salvations, 3 sisters singing, and they've been doing it since they could speak, and their mother has been a real stage mom, and so the girls have been asked to continue to sing even though they're now adults and don't particularly want to sing. And I just couldn't get anywhere in it, I didn't get very far, but it was just another case of, boy, there isn't a story here yet. And just given the way things have been going, I'm not really interested in pursuing things for very far. So, I want to be grabbed in the first 50 pages. So this hasn't met it, and I'm thinking somebody recommended this, and I'm not sure why. So if you're that person, you could maybe send me a little message to say, keep going, it's worth it. Because that's true. Sometimes if you can get past to page 51, all of a sudden things change and improve. Okay, I've got 1 or 2 friends who really love the romancy mystery kind of thing set in not Renaissance, not Edward. Is it Edwardian? No, Regency period. So this was kind of a fun little gambit in the very beginning. It's written by Tirza Price, and it's a Lizzy and Darcy mystery, and what the author has done is gone back to the Jane Austen novel and picked up Lizzie Bennet and Darcy what's his name, and she has become a lawyer in her father's practice, and he is a lawyer in a different practice, and yet he seems to spend all his time hanging around with Lizzie while she trots around being a lawyer. And the first one was kind of fun because, it was turning things on its head. The second one was kind of fun because they had dug a little deeper into the mores and social taboos of the time, and the mystery was okay, but then Manslaughter Park, I was beginning to think, I'm tired, and so I picked this one up just because I thought this will be a fast read. It'll give me something to talk to you guys about, and it'll kind of end the series and ta-da-da-da. basically, if you've read the first three, you've read this one. It just keeps reiterating that the social constraints that Lizzie is going through. She really needs Darcy to get her into certain settings, or to protect her, or to move the law courts forward. So, although she's trying to be an independent woman, she ultimately needs Darcy to just, get her where she actually wants to be. So it's not really about female emancipation. And these guys have been teetering on the edge of romance for 3 books, and on this book too. And yeah, if you've read, if you don't mind a series where you know what you're going to get, go for it, because it's as well written as the first 3, but you know what you're going to get. And I wasn't in the mood. And you know what? I didn't realize this. It's shelved as young adult, but I'm surprised by that, because most of the people that I know that have been reading this are not young adults. They're people who like a sort of cozy mystery. Okay. Now, I'm reading 2 chunkers, and I'm using that 12-page a day trick I was telling you about a couple of videos ago. And I am working through Deepening Stream, so I did mention it a couple of videos ago. It's not really moving anywhere. We're learning about Mady and her maturing years, and she's working on getting a second baby, and her life, she's becoming more attuned to her life. This is a very, it's very much a character study. We go from a fairly immature perception of the world to a more mature one. And yeah, at 12 pages a day as bedtime reading, it is really just, it is quite fine. And I don't know how long we'll get here, how old she gets. But anyway, it's quite enjoyable. And I'm really thinking that 12 pages a day trick works. So that'll take me probably till the end of February to finish, I would think. So using the same premise, this book was one of the ones that I was really anticipating. I didn't mention it to you guys, but yeah, I was really looking forward to this one. It is Philippa Gregory's Normal Women, and Philippa Gregory has written a number of historical fiction. Now, has she done nonfiction? I don't think so, but she's done things like the Plantagenet and Tudor novels, and some children's books, then just some standalone modern novels and other moments in history, not just Tudor. And you've probably come across things like The Last Tudor, The Other Queen was a recent one, and I think I've sort of been reading The Other Boleyn Girl. That was I don't think I've read that one. Anyway, she's written quite a lot of things. I was so looking forward to this because I thought that it was going to be, I should tell you what it is. She has taken through history from in England, Norman conquest, sort of 1066, when we still have mostly Anglo-Saxons inhabiting England. And she's taken the moment when William the Conqueror invades and looks at the lives of women in terms of their rights, prostitution, what they did in the workforce, any kind of laws that were uplifting women or downtrodden women. And I was sort of expecting that because that's been some of her themes in the past. But I thought that I was going to actually see more women. Now, it makes sense that in the 1066 to 1348, there aren't a lot of, there isn't a lot of information that she can dwell upon because she's looking at old records and taxes or court hearings and where someone was charged and burned at the stake. Oh my goodness. And so we get these very, very brief vignettes, sometimes only just a series of names as people who paid taxes or were given lease on a land or that sort of thing. So it's a bit of a grocery list. We come in, I'm reading now, I just finished 1485 to 1660, which has a slightly broader, it's more expansive. So you get to see maybe 2 or 3 sentences about some of the women and where they were in terms of legal cases they brought against someone who cheated them, or they were trying to keep a lease going, or so on. Some of this is taking place during Queen Elizabeth's reign and Queen Mary's reign, and I would have thought that there was, like I say, more expansive views of what some of the women were like. So we might get someone who's helped with a rebellion, and clearly the history knows that this lady was a leader in the rebellion and so on. So what am I trying to say? It still remains a bit of a grocery list in that you were just getting little snippets and snippets and snippets. And certainly as the years go past, as we get closer and closer to James the First, things really start to go downhill for women, in terms of legal rights. But the legal rights since the Norman invasion have just been continually abraded and put down. And I guess one of the things that this book will probably come to, I'm positive it will come to, brings us up to about 1994, I think. And I think it will be more interesting in the last 150 years, but I'm not sure whether she's going to be able to give us broader strokes on the women that she's highlighting. So what was I expecting? I guess I was expecting 900 years of biographies. More like, if there's 900 years, I was thinking maybe there would be about, 45 women over the span of that, and we would just see some interesting things. And because it's normal women, it's not just people who are the royals or the elite, or what have you. She does manage to pick up people who are in the working classes, but as I say, a lot of those people only get noticed because they were on trial for something, or paying taxes. So it isn't quite what I hoped for. I'm a bit disappointed. I'm still reading it 12 pages a day at lunchtime, and I think if the book didn't include the last 150 years of our times, I'd probably drop it just because nothing's sticking. What she has done that is really good is give context. So she does mention what laws were put in place that would lift up or depress a woman's rights. And we get some very good context about the economies and where the plagues were and which royal conundrum was happening, where the War of Roses were. So these laws and these experiences are in a historical context. That is very well done. So, so I'm kind of 50-50 on this book. And it's nonfiction, so if you're looking for something for nonfiction November, if you start now, you might get done in time. I just was past my free little library, and I picked up 2 books. Judy Blume, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I have been meaning to reread this for quite a while, and there it is in the free little library. So that I'm going to do soon, because A, it's short, B, I know it's good. And I've been meaning to get back to this series, C.J. Sansom, and this is the time of Henry VIII, when there was a lot of political upheaval, and the Reformation is in England. I guess the series begins with the dissolution of the abbeys and the convents and so on. This one, look how big it is. It's the 5th one. So I'm just going to tuck it upstairs, or maybe it's even further. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 6th one. And I do remember them being fairly large. So I'm going to tuck this one up in the upstairs beside all the other books that I might one day get to, and see if I'm lucky and the other 5 show up in the free libraries, and I'll just kind of work my way through them. I know I read number 1. I'm just not sure about 2 and 3. Anyways, that's the kind of project I like to do in the summer, where I can just get a whole pile of stuff from the library and just see, oh yeah, read it, return. Okay, so the last book is actually a good one. And those of you who like an adventure and trust me on things like rip-rollicking tales of adventure, you're going to rush out and get this book from your library or your local independent bookseller. The Outlaws, Scarlett and Browne by Jonathon Stroud. It's geared towards, I'm trying to remember now, did I pick that up? She's about 18. He's either 17. Yeah, I think he's a little younger. He's around 17. Scarlett is an outlaw. She's a professional outlaw. She's really good at robbing banks and rich inns and sneaking into households where there's going to be something in the safe. So she's always on the run. I don't know how she gets away with that red hair. And she's kind of done the one side of England. This takes place in an unknown time frame. There's been some kind of cataclysmic happening. The whole part of London, the town of London and the river and so on are way below water. And so there's only ruins left, like maybe the tops of cathedral roofs and that sort of thing. And there are surviving towns along the way, but there's also people called the Tainted, which are a cannibalistic group, and then the animals in the woods have morphed up into gigantic bears or gigantic weasels and so on. So she's got quite an adventurous, path between one town and the next. And along the way, she comes across a bus. They still seem to have some technology. There's generators and buses and guns, and so there's some contemporary to us technology. But then there's other things that they don't have at all, like telephones. Okay, so she comes across a bus that has been overturned, and in it there is a boy, this man, Browne. What was his first name? Oh, it started with an A. Arthur? He has got something very, very powerful about him, but it doesn't get revealed for about a third of the way of the book. We quickly figure out that there's something going on, but what that is, you kind of, if you make a guess, you're probably not too far off. And as the book progresses, this capacity that he has actually ends up helping Scarlett. So it starts off as she being very, very irritated that she's got this lummox of a boy trailing after her, just making things worse. And he doesn't actually improve too much, but he does get his secret thing starts to become more useful. And he's being chased. She thinks she's being chased because she's robbed a bank. He's being chased because of who he is. So if I tell you anything more, it's just going to spoil it for you, because you can just imagine there's going to be different kinds of chases and different kinds of robberies and some sort of secret something that becomes more and more present and apparent as we get into the story. It's got a very nice ending. It's possible that this will move on into a second book. It's because Jonathon Stroud has done that a couple of times. He's got the Bartimaeus sequence, the Lockwood & Co. company that I've been talking about for most of the last 2 years, I guess. And so this is possible that it could go into a series, but it certainly could stand alone. You're not going to be, you're going to be satisfied with the ending. So I recommend this. It was perfect amongst all these disappointments. I was so glad to read this. Thank goodness for Jonathon Stroud. He really knows how to write an adventure story. I guess that's it for me. I don't have any little anecdotes or stories or conundrums. Everything's just moving along the way it does in January and February. It just kind of slides along like molasses on the outside of a jar, sticky and not going very far, very fast. I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. And P.S. Mimi, your card arrived. It is stunning. Your artist friend is so talented, And what do you mean? I say, thank you so much in a weird way. Huh? What are you talking about? So all your reading dreams and adventures come true, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.